Alright, hey, so I just got back from Comic-Con. And, or Kami-Con? Kami-Con? Yeah. I had food there, so it's not commies. Oh well. Anyway, and this year, as well as in the past couple years, they've used these, what they're calling Kami-Gotchi, pedometers. So, essentially, the way the game works is that the more steps you have, of course, the better your vote is. And what you're doing is you're accruing steps, and then you're going to, I didn't even turn it in this year, so I can't say for sure. But you're going to somebody, one of the staff, and they're recording your steps and then resetting it. Little trickery from last year was that, or last time that I was there that they did this, was that you pull your reset button out, otherwise you'll just keep accidentally hitting it. So, not the end of the world. I'll find a way to reset it. I think I've got the button still around here somewhere, but far worse things I've dealt with before. Anyway, what I thought would be fun is to open this guy up, see how it works, which, full disclosure, I've already opened it up once. I just wanted to kind of see what I was in for, but it was what I suspected. It was a switch that I thought it was going to be a ball bearing, that would be what I hear wiggling around in there. Turns out it's not. So I guess I'm lying. I guess I didn't really know, but I knew it was going to be some sort of a switching device that, you know, was just physically operated. One side it makes contact, one side it doesn't. In this case, they went a little bit more interesting or high-tech than I thought, and there's a read switch. Now, a read switch is also known as a magnet switch, or at least that's what I call them sometimes. There we go. So, read switch is that there's a magnet on this little arm here, and on this little board there is a tube that has, let's see, I think I have a read switch over here, a larger one for a better view. It's not clear, so it's kind of hard to tell. Anyway, yeah, that's not as helpful as I thought it would be. So a reed switch, to demonstrate, has two flat magnetic or ferrous pieces of metal in there. And whenever the magnet, the rare earth magnet that's on this end here, gets close to them, that temporarily magnetizes them and they want to touch. So then they come together, circuit's complete, magnet moves away, they go back to their relaxed position. So again, simply something physical. In this case, this little springed piece of metal with a magnet on it is moving the magnet closer and further away over and over again. We've got a watch battery, so she runs off 3 volts. That's neat. A few things I want to find out. Like the main question being, what voltage is it detecting on the other side when that switch closes? Because, you know, that's what we're going to want to emulate. The goal today is to hack, by the way, this little Kami-Gotchi. Whoops! Oh, goody, it's those. I love these, and by the way, by that I mean I hate them. So basically, the connection for this screen is basically just conductive strips inside of this rubber pressing onto this. Where is the... Well, that's rather interesting. I don't see the read switch. I know it's there. Is it inside of that? I expected the epoxy chip, because that's just one of the cheapest ways to do things. What I didn't expect was there not being an actual physical read switch. Huh. So here's our little arm, which the end of it's magnetic, I believe? No?
5 minutes later.
Is it really that simple? Oh my gosh. Okay, let's start from scratch. It is not a read switch. It is not a reed switch. It is so much more simple than that, which I shouldn't be surprised because, you know, even these mass-produced tiny little things, they do tend to understand that they keep it simple, stupid principle, right? Why reinvent the wheel when you can do something so much better? And I expect this plastic to be really cheap, so I'm being very careful screwing that back in. So, what I'm thinking is going on is that this is actually just a metal arm, a conductive metal arm, that, whenever it touches here, let's see, we're at currently 7589. So let's see if we can get to 7590 by touching those together. 91. So we jumped. Yeah. So this little arm is, here's what's going on. Let me paste this for you. This little arm right here, it is having electricity conducted, whoa, where'd that spring go? There it is. Through this here little spring. So the circuit begins at this metal plate here and goes all the way back around through this tiny little spring to this arm. And that way, every time you take a step and it's hard enough for the spring to drop down and touch that metal, we've taken a step. So it's not even a magnet sensor. That's really neat. It's also going to make this thing incredibly easy to hack. I don't even have to do board shenanigans. So let's see here. So with that in mind, here's the goal. Okay. The goal is, I've got a spare, it's very old, that's why it's so dusty. It's sat on my desk for years. But I did just check and make sure it works. An Adafruit Flora. So this is an Arduino. It's overkill for this, but it's the one that I have spare at the moment. And the idea is, we're going to pick a data output line on this. I do need to measure the voltage between these 2 points, just to make sure, but since that's your normal button cell battery, I'm going to guess that when this connects to this, that it's making a 3 volt continuous circuit. Let's find out for sure. DC. So U to U. 1.5. Maybe that's good that I checked. So our goal is going to be to have this basically just close this circuit. On, off, on, off, on, off. I believe what I'll be doing is I'll be picking one of these digital pins to be an output and one to be an input. And have them basically connecting over and over. But I might be wrong about that. I wish this was... Is that connect to ground? Yeah, that is connect to ground. So I did some thinking. And that's never good. But unfortunately, since it's using the ground side of the circuit, that makes it where an Arduino would need some extra equipment to work. Because, see, an Arduino can only output voltage. I was hoping there was, you know, a way that I could hook, like, for instance, D9 and D10, and have, you know, both sides of this circuit go to them, and have it choose to let the circuit close and open over and over. Doesn't work that way. Only thing these can do is send out some voltage, which we send the voltage back to the ground. Not useful, may hurt something. Send the voltage back the other way. Probably going to hurt something. And still wouldn't actually do what we want. So, unless I'm going to go through the trouble of buying some stuff for this project, which I'm not dying to, then Arduino is out. So you say, well, what do we do? Is that the end? Well, not quite. I've got a various number of physical things that are circuit closing devices, like that reed switch I showed you earlier. This little device here, I'm not exactly sure the name of it. This was in a little thing that was supposed to light up on your shoes every time you took a step. You probably can't see it because my camera's hot garbage. but there's a little spring inside of it, and then it's surrounded by this metal cylinder. And of course the idea is that when that spring gets just a little bit off path, it touches the side of the cylinder, and that closes the connection for just a second. I want to try this on it, just to see if maybe that will make it so responsive that then we can, I don't know, sit it somewhere that just vibrates. Maybe. What I want to do to make it where we can better do our testing is I'm going to solder some wires. Nothing major, just some short little wires to the 2 points that need to be connected. We're going to strip them out. Okay. And, oh, here's some random solder wire I had just sitting around. That's always good. So let's see if we can just get a blob to sit somewhere like right there. No? Oh, maybe. Yeah. There it is. I want that to be a good sized blob. Okay. And then on this guy down here, let's just do it right in the middle here. Why not? These things have a bit of a coating to them, so you have to let it heat up so it burns that coating off, and then the solder. Now there's a thing called tinning your wires, and I'll give you a little pro tip here. You can actually just use the geometry of the wire to hold the wire up off your desk like that, and that makes it easier, especially if they're single conductor like this. They'll hold their shape. But the idea is to tin your wire so that the solder's already on it, and that way it won't have any problems adhering. Ooh, I touched myself with that and it hurt. But you see what I'm doing is I'm just letting the soldering iron add heat to the wire, and then I'm letting it wick the solder up the wire. So let's see if we can't get these two to be one. There we go. So there's one. Now for this one. I'm trying to be kind of quick with my time that I spend heating, because I don't know how heat sensitive that epoxy chip is. What I am going to do here, and this is going to smell lovely, and my wife is going to love me for this. I'm going to burn this edge here a little bit. Oh, here she comes. I'm going to burn this edge and put a little space for our wires to come out. Another tip, I've said this a bunch of times before, turn the screw backwards, counterclockwise first, till you feel it pop into place. That way you're not cutting new threads. So we should have, does it still function? Yeah, it still functions the other way. But, so what we should have now is if these two touch each other, look at that. Now this could go really easy because there's a small chance that it may have a delay on it programmed into it, and just holding them together may make it go up. Nope. But see, every time they touch, because every time they touch, I get this feeling. Anyway, so we have our mechanism here as to how we can control it now, so that's nice. But again, there's a lot of goofy things I could do. I was kind of thinking about taking a fan and putting aluminum foil on the blades and just having it run across this, just, you know, over and over again. It would be essentially this motion. Yeah, see? So that works too. So there's a lot of mechanical answers here to our now slightly modified Kami-Gotchi. But I wanted to try this little spring guy and see if that does much. I'm just going to leave it on this board. The board was made for two button cell batteries, which they're currently not hooked up. So the board just gives me a really easy way to mount it. We're only using that component though. No, I don't want you soldered together. Okay. So let's see just how sensitive that is. Well, it made it more sensitive. So then it would be really easy to just hook it to something that vibrates it. There we go. That would be a pretty good mod by itself, because one of the problems that they run into is that in panels, because this thing makes a clicking noise with the other method, there's people just clack, 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 going at them during the middle of everybody's panels. So in this case, it makes it a silent, device. Although actually, you'd have to sit here and flick it, probably. It takes a little more inertia to get that spring to move enough. Yeah. And of course, I left the clacky part in there, so it's also clacking. Behold my death trap. Okay. I think I've created insanity, which is exactly what I wanted. So, straighten these. Let's make sure they're the same length, because that's going to be important. Why does my desk always have little pieces of crud all over it? It's because I'm lazy and I do that. Huh, big surprise. Alright, let's strip out the ends. Get them where they're roughly the same area. Cool. And now, to bring out even more stupidity. Oh look, a Dremel. I mean, okay, it's not a Dremel brand, but you call tissues Kleenexes too, don't you? So the idea here is this guy can spin, I think, up to like 10,000 RPM or something crazy like that. I have it set way down low. So see, there's low, and then you can accelerate, depending on what level of insanity we want. Or, the real question is going to be, at what point does it sling those little conductors that I put on there off? Which is why I say, safety squints engaged, to quote Ave. Should have the right tool for this. I don't. It's somewhere around here. It's in a pile somewhere. Oh, I'm looking at it now. Now that I've used that, I'm looking at it. So I put hot glue all the way around in the hope that it will, try to hold itself together. Oh man. Well, what the heck? Let's just see at the lowest setting, speed-wise, will it sling itself apart? Okay. It currently has not slung itself apart. Okay. It may, but it hasn't done it yet. So let's get these two guys. Can you see that? You can see that. That's hilarious. Ooh. It's not fast enough. It'll still take us forever to get to 9999. Although it seems like it's speeding up on its own, which is kind of funny. Okay, let me try a little something here. Let's put a little downward pressure on this guy. It's kind of like valve springs in a car. It needs some pressure. Nope, that's just slowing down. Till this all comes apart. Oop! I just heard it fling one. Let's see. Yep, there you go. Oh, two gone. That's pretty hilarious. Still not the answer we're searching for, but funny nonetheless. So, by the power of pre-recording, I now have parts. Yes, I've gone and spent money on this goofy little project. That being said, this little relay driver is something that can be used in a ton of different things. So, is it really me spending money on this project? It's more like me spending money on having some parts for future projects, right? So, here's your idea, basically, of a relay, if you don't already know. So we've got our Arduino here, right? We're going to just write A on that. Okay, now from that, we've got a constant 5 volts, which is going to go to, I believe, to DC plus here. We have a ground that's going to come off of that. It's going to go to DC minus. And then we're going to have one of our inputs, let's just call it D8 for now. And that's going to the relay as well. Okay, so neat thing that happens here is that you have a circuit, and it is a coil. And if you know about this, wow, that's the world's worst drawn coil. Whenever you run voltage through a coil, it will generate a magnetic field. Next to it, we have basically one of those reed switches I talked about before, where it's like that. And that's going out. And essentially, you know, our whole goal was to open and close, open and close, open and close a circuit over and over again, essentially making it like these two guys are touching over and over again quickly. So, whenever D8 outputs voltage and goes back to ground, this coil magnetizes, and that closes these what do they call those? Ferrous metal bands. Makes them want to touch each other because the magnetic force makes them both magnetic, and they boop, stick together, and now you've got a closed circuit all the way around there. But then we'll have it probably in a matter of a few microseconds stop sending voltage to this, in which case this will open again, and then repeat the process over and over and over again. Definitely going to enjoy testing and seeing how fast I can get this guy to switch. That's probably going to be the limiting factor. Also, there should be at least a little satisfying click. So let's pull off the side here. So we'll have a blue, green, and a yellow. Why not? Been playing Sea of Thieves, so I've got sea shanties in my head right now. Let's make our decisions as to what's going where. La da 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 da. La da da da. Man, I've got so much music in my head right now. If you don't know me, that is the absolute norm for me. Philip, my old friend Philip. I like him a lot better than I do his neighbor Flat. So these things are neat. These things you can actually just, it's kind of like audio jacks. You can actually tighten them down onto the wire. I mean, I'll probably fast forward through this part anyway. Nobody wants to see me just fighting with this. Okay, are we all in there good and tight now? We all happy? I'm pretty happy if you're pretty happy. Okay, cool. So, we've got our DC, 5 volts is yellow, our ground is green, that works out really well, and then our I/O pin, our COM, I guess, is blue. That works out really, really well, actually. Didn't intend for that, but yeah. Okay, first off, the soldering on this looks terrible. Did I not use flux or something? I mean, this is a very old flora from a project that I did in like 2015. So I'll admit I wasn't really like the greatest then either. Okay, and what pin do we want to use? I mean, we have like 5 or 6 I/O pins on this thing, so let's just go for convenience. Let's go for 12. Yeah, let's do D12. Even though D6 already has solder all over it, don't care. If I'm really worried about it, I can wick this flora up to kind of clean that back up. So as you can see, we've got this guy hooked up now. Let's pull up Arduino IDE LV. Let me go back to the screen here. So this is our code we're working with. So we've got our pin. It's called an LED pin. Yes, again, I left LED and everything. But pin 12 is what we're using. For our void setup, we have to set what the pin mode is for that pin. So it's defined as LED pin, so that means LED pin here is pin 12, and it is an output pin. That being said, now we move to our loop, and the way that an Arduino runs is this loop is where the code gets executed over and over again. It starts at the top, and it works its way down, and then it starts back at the top again. So that's why these delays are very important. Currently I have it set up for a whole second delay between it going high, which means it's giving the voltage, and it going low, which means it's no longer providing the voltage. So we've got high, wait a second, low, wait a second, back to high, wait a second. So let's see if we get some clicks. We're going to upload that. Let's go to recording from above. And I hear it. Oh, and the little light's blinking. So, yeah, that nice little click, that is the actual physical relay clicking. So, my next thing I want to try, I want to go back to this, and I want to see if we knock this delay down. Let's make it 1/100th of a second, because 1,000 is a second. So, 10 is 1/10th of a second. Alright, now we'll see if this thing can consistently click that fast, and then we'll know we can actually move that quickly with it. Ooh, that's quick. Sounds like a buzzer. And we need to hook up the Kami-Gotchi. So, over here we've got our normally open or normally closed. I want normally open in this case, but it's not really going to matter because we're just going to be doing, normally closed is like holding the button down or holding down a button, keeping it closed. And even that's not a really good example. But regardless, in our instance here, it's not going to matter. Time to see if she goes up 1 for every second on the current programming. Actually, it'll be 1 for every 2 seconds. 88. 89. There she goes. Alright, y'all ready to turn this up? Screen. Okay, let's knock 2 of these zeros off. And uploading. Okay, I feel like the relay's response time is fine. I feel like the Kami-Gotchi isn't able to go any faster than that. Still, that's pretty quick. For But that's not going to get me to 99,000 anytime soon. So, let's go back to our screen here. Let's do 20. Let's not overtax this. Let's double how fast it's going. Let me go back to recording from above here. So we're going to slow her down. Two, three. I need a way to actually time this. Let's see here. Let's see how long it takes for it to run 50. A little early, but that's alright. So 7.15. Do you see this insanity I've got going on? See on the screen?
Or you can just jump up and down with it.
I mean, I could. Okay, so 7.15 at that rate. So let's see if it actually speeds up here or if we're at the physical limits of this poor thing. Wow. Well, okay, we had our fun. And we found the physical limits of a Kami-Gotchi. Certainly one of the goofier things I've worked on. But it was fun. It was fun. So, question is, do I want to try to just sit this somewhere and let it run? And just see how high I can get it? I'm not going to leave the video, or this camera, on for the whole time. If I could figure out how to set up one of my other cameras for like a time lapse, maybe. But otherwise it's just not even worth the electricity. Alright, it started breaking down on me. and hiccuping a lot, as I call it. So I've adjusted the numbers to where there is an actual click now, instead of just a brrr. And that seems to be keeping everything way more secure and limiting the number of times that it skips a number or skips an input. Sometimes slower is better. That being said, we just cannot break the 13-second to 100 barrier, so it will still be quite a while. Alright friends, final update. I made it to 96,000 and then paused it for dinner, and when I came back it had reset. So this is of course later on. I've played with it some more, but don't know if we're going to get to actually see 99,000. Definitely not in this video because I don't have another 4 hours to spend on it. But hey, we know that it would make it there in 4 hours. So hey, if anybody wants to try to beat it, be my guest. It's been such a goofy time that I might actually come back to it. We'll see. But for now, thanks for watching Retro Decade. You have a wonderful day.